I've just returned from Manipur. I had been there with a team of the All India Democratic Women's Association with our President P.K. Srimati and General Secretary Mariam Dhawale. And we met a large number of victims, many women who were victims of sexual assault. And the reason why I'm speaking to you today is because the victims have asked us to expressly tell the women of India and the people of India about their grief, their suffering, and their despair. And that is why I'm speaking to you today. We met the women in the video which has outraged all of you. But their question is, does India care? So many days have passed. But they know that they have not got justice. You know the facts, so I'm not repeating the facts. But what we learned from them, that young woman and her neighbor, they were in the police jeep. They were actually in the custody of the police. And they were told by the driver that he doesn't have the key and therefore he cannot drive the car away. And they were literally handed over to the mob. And that young woman, her brother, a young boy, he was in a hostel earlier. He was just 17, I think, 16 or 17 years old. He clung to his sister, tried to protect her, and they snatched him away from her. She was stripped, she was paraded, and before her eyes, they killed her brother. They killed her father. She saw it happening. And then, as you know, she was dragged away and gang raped. And then when ultimately she got to safety, she wants you all to know she couldn't speak about what happened to her for days because she did not want to burden her mother, who was grieving for the loss of her son, the loss of her husband. And therefore, for days, this victim of such brutality and barbaric, inhumane behavior could not speak about it. And today she is so deeply traumatized. They despair because there is no justice. No justice. The police in their first report did not even acknowledge that such an incident had taken place. They said just the village is burnt. There's vandalism. They did not even mention it. The older woman who had been stripped, she said, what we faced, we faced. But where is the justice? And if we don't speak out today, who will? When she said we, she meant we the women, we the citizens of India. Tomorrow it will happen to any woman is what she said. And this was a targeted crime. They said this was targeted because we are tribals, because we belong to a particular Kuki Zomi community. We are targeted because of that. We are citizens of India, and yet this is what we faced. This is the punishment we faced. And our bodies were used for that politics. Their fight is for justice. And they despair that with the partisanship which has been shown by the state government and the central government, they are being denied even the minimum justice. The mother says she has not seen the bodies of her husband, her son. Her son was away for 3 months before this happened, so she has not seen him at all. She grieves. She longs to at least see their bodies, but even that is not possible because of the divide which has been created. This is the reality of Manipur. A 15-year-old girl in another case who was dragged, who was taken away by 4 men in uniform belonging to extremist groups. She was raped, gang raped, 15-year-old girl, and she was thrown down a cliff. She survived. But the perpetrators of that crime have not been arrested. We met the father of Florence. We met the mother of Olivia, 2 young women who were working in a car wash. She had spoken to her mother just a few hours before and said, "We are not safe, but the car owner has promised to take us to safety." But the mother says he did not do so. He has not even helped in the investigation. There were so many employees there, many of them close friends with these young women who were sexually assaulted and brutally killed. But there's no justice for them. And they believe, the families believe, that as long as this government remains, the chief minister remains, they are the barriers to justice. They wanted me to speak to you, not on their behalf, because when they can speak, they will. There's no internet now in Manipur. They can't convey all this to you. They are being supported by women's organizations in Manipur, and I salute those organizations. And I appeal to all of you to even more strongly raise your voice for justice.
So the AIDWA delegation with Brinda, Karat, PK Srimati and myself visited Manipur. We have read about what's happening in Manipur, but those words cannot really describe the reality. We have seen the trauma, the misery, the barbarism, the unnerving situation over there. We met Joshua, whose 7-year-old son and wife and a friend was burnt in an ambulance. The police took them to the hospital in an ambulance when the son was hit by a sniper, but on the way mysteriously disappeared, and then they were left at the mercy of the mobs. And that's the time when the mobs took over and burned them alive. Joshua is numb. Similarly, a family lost their 18-year-old son who was working in an iron factory. He rang up his mother to say that he's feeling unsafe and went to a friend's house. But the mobs caught him there, dragged him, beat him to death, and burnt him. There are innumerable such stories, not written about, unknown. No one knows where their children are, where their dead bodies are. The parents are in a trauma. They only want to see their dead children. But the government has abdicated its responsibility. A young 24-year-old woman from a relief camp gave birth to a baby boy. She was rushed to the hospital and there were no doctors. She died due to excessive bleeding. The Modi-Shah government in Delhi is continuing to support a chief minister who is complicit in this barbarity. The people of Manipur are saying, help us. All that we want is justice. We want our children to rest in peace who have died. We want our lives back. We want to live normally with each other. Help us. The accused, the rapists, the murderers, they are all free. No one has been arrested. But we are suffering. The people are angry with the government. The people want the government to be held responsible. They are saying that this chief minister needs to go because he left the people of Manipur at the mercy of the mobs instead of coming forward to save them. We went to the relief camps. Nearly 350 relief camps are there in Manipur, where more than 55,000 people, women, men, old people, children are staying there. Bare necessities are also not available. Some of the relief camps, they do not have beds, they do not have mattresses, they don't have anything to sleep on. They don't have anything much to eat. Just dal and rice is being supplied for 3 months. People have been staying there for 3 months. They don't know what has happened to their houses. Their houses are burnt to ashes. One of them said that they had recently built a new house and that house is now no more. When we asked some of them, what do you have to say? They said, there are no words to describe the multiple losses that we have suffered. What do we say? We have been pushed into a situation beyond our control. We lived happily with each other. Overnight, we have become enemies. The divide is deep. The despair is deep. Women have said that we have been robbed of our dignity and self-respect. We are humiliated. We are embarrassed to live in these camps. We have to live with people's handouts. We are wearing old clothes. We do not know how long we will be living here. And nobody has any answers to that. We met the governor. We told her the children are out of school. In the valley, only some schools have started. But most of the children are out of school. We have apprised her of the situation. She has promised us that she will try to do her best. She has met some victims of violence. But she knows the situation requires much more to be done. It is only the philanthropic organizations, NGOs, women's organizations, the common people who have come forward to help. They have provided some kind of relief. There are some young psychologists, young girls who are dealing with women and children who are suffering trauma. They are trying to help their best, but it's insufficient. It's the government who has to take this responsibility. She said finally that she is very happy that the Supreme Court has taken note of the situation in Manipur. But much more needs to be done. As Indians, we all need to come forward. The women of Manipur everywhere, either in the hills or in the valley, have said, and they have told us, convey this to every woman in India, that we do not want any woman to suffer what we have suffered. Any woman to be a victim of atrocity as we have been, as our children have been. We want every woman to be having a right to live a life with dignity. And we also want dignity. So every woman, please speak for us, help us get justice.